Chapter 5. Team's first mission. Locked in the back of a C-130 heading for Ramstein, Germany, Drex opened the dossier for new personnel they were to team up with upon arrival. Like most others in his position, Drex was greatly bothered by the mere thought of adding an unknown person to his team. But so had he been bothered by being an Army Ranger in charge of an Air Force Special Operations team. Just the thought of guys he served with in the Rangers finding out about his position ran chills down his spine. The jokes would be non-stop. Drex had come to the conclusion that the life of charging into battle was over for him, and now he was only a well-trained tour guide. The first thing to catch his eye while pulling files free from the folder was the word Nazi. Well, at least this should be an interesting tour, he said when he saw that. He was not disappointed. Half an hour passed as he read through information on Otto von Cerny, information that both intrigued and confused him. The man in the photo attached to the dossier was in his 20s, but the man he was reading about was supposed to be the son of a Nazi scientist that headed up the Die Glocke project in 1942. Damn, his father had to be in his 60s or 70s when he was born. Pushing past the thought of Otto's father being so old when he was born, Drex continued reading and preparing his notes to brief his team. The back of the transport plane was large and mostly empty, with the exception of their gear, which required very little space, making the flight fairly comfortable. Knowing they would be ready to land soon, Drex called his team together for a short briefing. Though the dossier had quite a lot of information in it, very little would help with the mission ahead. With his team all sitting in front of him, it was time to begin. Okay, this is where we stand. Shortly, we will be landing at Ramstein Air Force Base. There, we will be picking up a new member of the team, Otto Cerny. He had to stop for a second, while his team came to terms with having a new member. No team that had trained together and grown close enjoyed the unknown of a new person. Yes, I know, but regardless, we will push through. Otto was a member of the Kommando Spezialkräfte. They are elite German military commandos, so we should not worry about him being able to handle himself. Now, he is the son of Otto von Cerny, who was the lead scientist of the Die Glocke project, otherwise known as the Bell. Spears couldn't control her enthusiasm and interrupted. I read about that project. It was a top-secret project for the Third Reich. Supposedly, a man got inside and was transported in time. It took place at Der Riese, or the Giant. The only thing left are huge concrete structures they call the Henge. Drex raised his hand for Spears to be silent. Normally, he didn't like having interruptions during his briefings, but the information she had provided was helpful. With everyone once again focused on him, he continued. Yes, he is the son of a Nazi scientist, and we are going into the realm of Indiana Jones here, but try and push through. We will be rendezvousing with Otto when we land at a local hotel. We are not to present as military, but researchers from the Smithsonian. New luggage and clothing will be waiting for each of us when we land. Otto will be the only person from here out that knows our true mission. Is that clear? Simultaneously, everyone in the team replied, "Yes, sir." Satisfied his team had enough information, Drex closed the briefing. The next briefing will be at 1700 hours. At that time, Sergeant Spears will provide you with a copy of the mission. That copy will only be presented in the briefing room and will be destroyed before we leave the room. If there are no immediate questions, prepare for landing. Having no further questions, each person of Alpha Squad secured any loose items they had and buckled in for landing. Though she didn't ask any questions, Spears had many and could not wait to get her hands on the briefing material. After an uneventful landing, the team climbed into the back of a LMTV, light-medium tactical vehicle, that had already been scheduled to arrive, allowing them to remain unseen leaving the transport. Drex had planned the mission for the least number of opportunities for them to be spotted as possible to avoid raising suspicion. The mission security might not seem as imperative as those he executed, during his time with the 3rd Ranger Battalion, but Drex had planned every detail as if it was. From the time they climbed into the C-130, no other soul had laid eyes on them. The new luggage and identification waited in a hangar where they parked the LMTV. Drex took notice of every corner of the large hangar as he climbed out of the LMTV, searching for anything out of place. He had ordered it to be clear of personnel and for all surveillance it contained to be removed. Satisfied everything was as requested, Drex slapped the side of the vehicle, signaling Alpha Squad to depart while he walked to the rear. Okay, from here out, we are researchers working for the Smithsonian, so act accordingly. Over to your left, locate your luggage and new ID. Men change on the driver's side, and women on the passenger side. Once that is complete, load up in one of the 2 cars on the other side of the hangar. Higgins, you will drive one, and I'll take the other. Oh, and one other thing. Relax. You're supposed to be civilian researchers, Drex informed the team as they exited. Minutes ticked by as Drex slowly took his time locating his luggage and new identification. Jubal Hubbard. Who the hell creates a fake ID with the name of Jubal? Then, a smile came over his face as he thought of who would have created their new identities. Jake. Over a half hour passed with Drex still not ready while the rest of his team had already dressed, discussed their new names, learned their backgrounds, and waited by the cars for 20 minutes. Drex watched as they stole glances at him, putting on a light jacket he found in the luggage, then slowly adjusted it into place before casually picking up his luggage and walking in their direction. This is the part you cannot create a training course for, the real world. When I said relax, I meant it. Just because you change clothes doesn't mean others can't tell you're military. Now, load up. Higgins, follow me but not too close, Drex explained as he threw his bags in the trunk. Sure thing, Higgins responded, unsure if it was the correct amount of relaxed that he was supposed to be with a superior officer. Fortunately, it didn't take him long to find out as Drex climbed into the lead car without saying another word. Seeing the exchange between the two helped others of the team understand just what was expected of them. Drex marveled how little the area had changed since his last visit years ago, while his unit passed through on their way to Afghanistan. With the hotel only 5 miles from Ramstein Air Base, there was not a great deal to see before arriving at the Landstuhl Hotel, where Otto Cerny would be joining the team. Parking in a parking lot just to the side of the Landstuhl, Drex judged the building to be pre-World War II, but having a great deal of renovation work completed. Yeah, this looks like the type of place Smithsonian researchers would stay. The building was a light tan color and stood 3 floors high with each window of the first 2 floors, possessing troughs full of multicolored flowers. The 3rd floor, where Drex knew their rooms to be located, was what gave it the rustic German look, clay shingled roof wrapping around the 3rd floor windows, giving the appearance that they were pushed through the roof. Drex's observation of the building was not just for its rustic beauty, but to give the appearance of interest that a researcher would have in such things. The real purpose was to locate possible exit routes if needed, and locate areas to place one of 5 miniature surveillance cameras he held in his jacket pocket. Palming one of the cameras in his hand, Drex walked slowly toward the rear of the hotel, as if he were admiring the hand-chiseled stone foundation that the hotel rested upon. Can you believe the craftsmanship that went into building these stones? Drex asked one of his team members, removing their luggage from the car. Quickly, Spears picked up on what he was up to and replied, "There's an old sawmill back in my hometown with foundation blocks just like this. Wonder if it could have been built by Germans migrating in the 1800s? From that point, each team member began discussing the block, other building materials, and history of the town. With the group now acting much like he imagined historic researchers would, Drex bent over and placed one of the half-inch cubes between 2 foundation stones, with the best angle to cover the back of the hotel. Satisfied with the position of the camera, Drex joined in the conversation the others were having about how far Nanstein Castle was from the hotel while retrieving his luggage and walking to the front entrance. He placed himself in the middle of the group, with his luggage held in his left hand and 2 surveillance cameras in his right, and then guided the group with subtle cues. While they moved, he placed the 2 cameras left and right of the entrances, 1 more in the lobby, and 1 in the 3rd floor hallway covering all their rooms. "Natalie, come and see me as soon as you are settled," Drex requested, as Spears was about to enter her room. Keeping cover and using aliases always came easy for him. Often, he thought he might have even missed his calling as an actor. "Done, Jubal," Spears stated, flinging her bag through the slightly open door to her room. "Damn it, Jake," Drex thought upon hearing his cover name. "Great, come on in, and we'll get started." First thing Drex wanted to do was check the placement of the cameras. He couldn't imagine what kind of people would pose a threat to them. But security was what he was great at. "Even if it is against a pasty kid in his mama's basement," he said just under his breath. "What was that?" "Nothing," Drex replied. He had forgotten that Spears was in the room. It only took a few seconds to pull the laptop from his luggage. While it booted up, he turned his attention back to the folders and dossier for the briefing. While gathering the necessary material for Spears, he thought of how glad he was that Spears had become part of the team. She was the only one on the team that seemed more like a soldier than a professor pretending to be a soldier. With everything in order, he turned to her. "Okay, you'll find the conference room at the end of the hall. Inform the others it will be at 5 o'clock. Make a copy for each, including Otto. Before you do, ensure they have placed a shredder in the room for when the meeting is complete. Don't leave the room unsecure," Drex explained while handing over the paperwork. "You got it, Jubal," Spears replied with a smirk. She turned for the door, hurrying on her way. Drex shook his head slightly but had to resist smiling. He liked that at least one member of the team could loosen up. For the first time, Drex looked around the room and noticed just how nice they were, rather than what he could use as a weapon or exit routes. "Guess the Air Force likes all the comforts of home." He laughed, thinking about how this room compared to the Konex containers the Army regularly used. Setting aside the differences in missions he conducted in the Army compared to now, Drex typed in his password for the laptop and began pulling up the necessary screens for the cameras. Happy with their placement and amazed by their resolution, he studied everyone that came into view. He glanced down at the time displayed on the screen, 4:33 p.m. "Where you at, son of a Nazi alien hunter?" He snickered at his own joke. The minutes ticked by with no signs of Otto, but knowing how well-trained the man was in these situations, Drex figured he wouldn't show up till 5 minutes before the meeting. 2 men did catch his attention instantly, causing the hair on his arms to stand on end, something that had not happened in a very long time, and never for no apparent reason. "Where did you come from?" Drex asked the screen, only noticing the men as they walked through the lobby. Both seemed to walk in perfect alignment side by side, matching each other's movements. They wore identical 1950s-style black suits and ties, black sunglasses, and fedora hats. Striking a few keys, Drex zoomed in on the men, but even with the high resolution of the cameras, he could not make out any facial features. It only made their skin look like a body that had been dead for more than a day. They looked very odd, but not in the least bit threatening, merely very odd. It didn't even seem as though those they passed even noticed. Once the 2 men made their way through the lobby for what Drex assumed was the stairs, he began rubbing down the hair on his forearms, as if soothing it into submission. The hairs sprung back to life with the appearance of the 2 men on the 3rd floor camera. How the hell did they climb 3 flights of stairs that fast? Drex asked himself, reaching for the pistol hidden in his bag, while keeping his eyes on the monitor. "Where are you 2 going? Did Otto send you?" Drex had many questions, but nobody to answer them, as he watched the 2 men stop at his door. With his pistol in hand, he watched the screen while pointing the pistol toward his door. He watched on the monitor as both men knocked at the door, but all he heard was that of one person knocking. The hair on his arm stood straight up from his elbow to his fingertips. In Drex's mind, things didn't even place on the list of stressful moments, but the primal reaction he was having to it caused him to take notice. After a second round of knocks, the two moved as one to the next door, Higgins's room. Again, they knocked together, sounding as one. Drex saw the door open on the first knock, and Higgins appeared. As he did, Drex stood ready to assist if needed, all the while keeping an eye on the screen. The three didn't say a word to each other after Higgins opening the door with, "Hello." Just 3 to 4 seconds later, Drex watched as Higgins stepped back into his room, closing the door. "What the hell is going on?" Drex asked, adding to many unanswered questions on his list. The two strange men moved to the next room, which was Spears's, and knocked twice with no answer, since she was in the conference room preparing for the briefing. Drex watched his monitor as the two knocked at each team member's door, then said nothing when the door was opened. Looking to the lobby camera, he sarcastically commented, "There you are, Otto. Now we're all safe since the German Special Forces scientist has arrived." Drex looked at the time on the screen, 4:55 p.m., just as I thought. Turning his attention back to the hallway camera, he was instantly surprised to see the two strange men were not in view. "Where the hell?" Drex exclaimed, puzzled by the quickness with which they vanished. Quickly, he looked through the other 4 cameras for any signs of them with no luck. Returning to the hallway camera, he thought it a little strange nobody from the team was moving to the conference room. Again, he looked at the time. 4:58 p.m. There was no movement in the hallway till the top of Otto's head appeared on camera, exiting the stairway and walking down the long hall. Watching as the man walked, there was still no other movement till all but one of the team room doors opened, with everyone stepping out with pistol in hand, pointing it down the hall at Otto Cerny. All moved as one in perfect unison.
Humans believe themselves warriors, explorers, conquerors. You are none of these things. You are chemistry. Fear, rage, grief, desperation, and inispa. Your species produces the finest narcotics in this sector of the galaxy. The Zutarian collect what lesser species consume.
Wars make the best harvests. Human suffering creates the purest compounds. Your species poisons itself willingly and calls it civilization. We merely perfected the process. Subscribe to Solar Warden and perhaps you will discover who truly controls your world. Humanity was never alone at the top of the food chain.